A lot of the discourse around programming is that it's an art. I want to explain why this is probably the wrong approach to take, not whether it's true or not. Because if your goals are commercial, and chances are they are commercial, then you need to stop thinking like an artist and start thinking like a pragmatist. Can programming be an art? Of course it can. Of course it can. I'm not trying to deny that. However, should you approach it like an art if your goals are career or entrepreneurship related? Probably not. What's a pragmatic mindset in this scenario? Basically what I'm saying is, as a software engineer, your job is to either save an organization money or generate it money, whether that's an organization you're working for as either a permanent employee or a contractor, or it's your own business. Remember, even if you work for a not-for-profit or in the public sector, you're still working to save that organization money. Otherwise, why would you be working with that organization? So why should you adopt this mindset? Well, your value proposition to an organization as a software engineer is to either generate them money or save them money, as I just mentioned. It's only natural that we want to make this value proposition as valuable and effective as possible. Because of that, if we increase our value to an organization, then the higher price, i.e. salary, we can charge. Or if it's our own business, the more money we can generate to ourselves. So it's all well and good talking about this, but how can we actually implement it? So far I've only talked about it as a concept itself, not about any actionable steps you can actually take to stand out and not be an artist, but actually be a pragmatist, which is far more valuable. Firstly, people that are familiar with my content know that I always talk about how time is an economic unit. You have to look at time as money. Developer hours equal money. This is either by your salary payments, or if you're running your own business, the opportunity cost of doing something else. You can reduce the amount of time that we spend on tasks that are the most intensive but the least consequential. Classic web development issue on the front end is creating effective components for your company's use case and to ensure a smooth general user experience. When faced with this problem, the artist will create a beautiful and scalable and perfect logic component library, and it will take him months and months. Every solution will be incredibly specific and it will work incredibly well. The styling will be beautiful, all the logic will work. However, it's taken them months. It's cost their organization months worth of salary, or if they're an entrepreneur, which I would argue in this situation is much, much worse, they've cost themselves loads of time before they launch to the market. And a pragmatist looks for the most suitable UI library for easy integration with what they're working on and most fits their business needs. Not just going to pick the nicest looking one, the one they think is the sleekest, or the one that has the smallest bundle size necessarily. What they will look for is the one that suits their business needs and allows them to put in the appropriate customization, both in terms of logic and styling. This then goes on to spend hundreds of hours redoing work that has already been done in open source projects. As a result, the developer can spend their time looking at problems that are much more specific to the actual thing they're working on. Secondly, let's have a talk about what artistic code actually entails. What made me make this video, and no shade to anyone that does this, I keep seeing across social media all these different code snippets that are really cool and concise and really funky because they save you a few characters because you're playing code golf. So you've saved a couple of nanoseconds off at the build time, or you've reduced 3 lines in your JavaScript file. Let's say I've done that, I've made everything super concise. Great, it's absolutely not readable at all. Now I've done this, I feel great about myself, I'm a bit tired, I go out like the true 10x developer I am and go and buy a Red Bull to keep on coding. On my way home, I get hit by a bus. Now obviously after the mandatory company period of mourning, someone then goes to go and look at my code. They have no idea what's going on. My legacy is completely tarnished. Chances are someone will read the code after you've written it, whether that's trying to debug something, add a new feature, or anything else. You need to make it easy for people to build on top of and understand what's going on under the hood. You can have an incredible implementation as an artist, but honestly, is it even worth it? If it's easier to understand, that's the pragmatic approach, because it's going to save everyone time in the future. That's what a true pragmatist, and I would argue a true 10x engineer does. They understand what the difference is between being artistic and doing things really well, or doing things for the good of the organization. You should remember that not everyone who's looking at your code is going to be a subject matter expert, or they might be a more junior member of the team. Be empathetic when you code. Now my final point is unrealistic scalability. You can turn this video off now, although please don't for my watch time, if you work for a large organization. The reason I say that is because you have the scalability there if you're a large organization. If you work for what we call a FANG organization and you have millions upon millions of active users, even just per day, then of course you're going to need very scalable services. Everything's going to have to work great at scale. Now, this is a bit of a difficult one here because you may save yourself some money. Yes, that is true. A clever implementation in infrastructure will save you a bit of money. But you have to consider what kind of scale are you operating at here, and is the money saved worth the time spent on it? You need to do that rough calculation in your head. This is a controversial one, but I've seen all kinds of calculators for how much a meeting costs in terms of dev hours. I'm yet to see one for a really intricate solution for infrastructure that's never actually going to end up being used. Ultimately, this just comes down to, are you allocating your time the right way? Is it really necessary? Particularly if you're working for a very small organization or you're building a product yourself, just build something that works for the next 6 months and then come back if it needs redoing. Don't get me wrong, I love having a bit of ambition, but you don't need to create some massive service straight out of the box. Now, something I just wanted to end the video on was I wanted to emphasize that you should still absolutely take pride in your work. I think part of the approach of people talking about code like it's an art is that people take pride in it, and you absolutely should. You should be proud of what you do and you should put your heart into it. And can you be an artist and a pragmatist? Absolutely. But all I'm saying is you need to let the pragmatist side of you kind of guide you first and then let the artistic side come out a little bit. But make no mistake, becoming a pragmatist is the way you get ahead in the world of software engineering. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love for you to stick around for my other content. I run a podcast called The Coder Career, and you can check out stuff like my TikTok, my Twitter in the description. For context, I'm a former technical recruiter turned software engineer, so I've sat on both sides of the table, and I try and make my advice around the non-technical tips for technical people. I focus on how you can get ahead in your career, or even how you can actually break into technology as a career changer or a comp sci grad in the first place. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments because I know this title may be a bit controversial. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.